Hey there and welcome back. Last week we shared about how God led our church to become financially free within 3 years. And on this video, we want to share some practical ways that you can experience financial freedom by following God's principles for money coming up.
So last week, we talked about lessons that we learned from our 3-year campaign to become debt-free as a church. And if you're new this morning, to let you know, we were on a 3-year journey to pay off all of our debt at Canopy Roads. We started 3 years ago with a debt of about $1.3 million, and about 3 weeks ago, we paid it all off. And it's just amazing what God has done. And so last week we talked about some lessons that we learned from that. And the big idea of all of that together was a big commitment from God inspires, a big vision from God inspires big commitment from His people. A big vision from God inspires big commitment from His people. That was a huge vision, and you guys were amazing. You guys were committed, and collectively, God used us and used others to pay off this debt, and it's just amazing. So, if you missed last week's message, I encourage you to go online and watch it on Facebook, YouTube, our website, whatever. Use the app and watch that message. I believe those 6 lessons can be relevant for you for God's big vision for your life this year. Maybe you're in the midst of a vision. You know what your vision is, and you're working through that. I think these things can be helpful for you if you're at that point, or if you're like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing with my life. I don't know what to do with my business. I don't know what to do with my job. I think you'll find this to be helpful. Today, I want to propose a big personal vision for you. I want to flip debt-free in 3 to debt-free for me. You're the me. I want to challenge you to adopt the vision this year. It's probably going to be a multi-year vision for most of you. Debt-free for me. How does that sound? Debt-free for me. Here's the big idea. I can experience financial freedom by following God's principles for money. Would you say that with me? I can experience financial freedom by following God's principles for money. You can. Now, financial freedom, let me just define this. Financial freedom does not mean being independently wealthy. It means being debt-free. It means living within your means and having reasonable savings for the future. That's what financial freedom is. Now, let me clarify debt-free. That sounds like a self-explanatory term, but let me just clarify it. Debt-free means no debt, no house debt, no car debt, no boat loan, no personal loan for any other thing, no second mortgage, first mortgage, no revolving credit on your credit card. You pay it off every month if you even have a credit card. So it means completely debt-free. So as we talk about that today, becoming debt-free, that's what I'm talking about, completely debt-free. So I want to give you 7 helps to become debt-free. I don't want to just say, hey, you should go do this. I want to give you some helps to get debt-free. Number 1, and this is one we talked about last week, clarify your why. Clarify your why. Look, it's going to be hard to become debt-free. It's hard. To become debt-free in a culture that loves debt is difficult. It's countercultural. In order to be debt-free, you will have to change some financial habits. Those habits are ingrained in all of us. We all have financial habits. And in order for us to make a huge change, like paying off all of our debt, we're going to have to change some habits. Habits are hard to change. You replace bad habits with good habits. So we're going to have to change our habits in order to become debt-free. And in order to change habits, you have to know why it's important. Why are you going to change a habit? So clarify your why. Now let me give you some good news, and this is a bit of a challenge. Do you know how many Americans are debt-free? 1 out of every 4. There's some debt-free people in this room. And they're not all high-income people. You think, well, debt-free, yeah, if you make a lot of money. Look, honestly, most people who make a lot of money have more debt than anybody else. Check it out. Do your research. They just own bigger houses, own bigger cars, have more expensive vacations. Becoming debt-free is a mindset. It's a change in the way you think about things. So you need to clarify your why. So let me give you 4 possible whys for you. You need to write your own set of whys. I encourage you to write them down. But here's some things that were helpful for us, for Terry and me, when we got out of debt. Number 1, to reduce stress in your home. To reduce stress in your home. You ever thought about money? Huh? You ever argued about money? Only if you're red-blooded American, right? Yeah, I mean, that's what we argue about. It's one of the things that we argue about. Terry and I would argue about it for a long time. In the early part of our marriage, Terry kept the checkbook. That was back when we kept a checkbook, right? You know what that is, where you write down checks. And if you're young, you don't even know what that is, right? So we used to keep a log of our checks. You didn't have Quicken and other financial software. So she kept them. And, we'd have a meeting or so forth, or I'd look at the checkbook and it's like $100 left. Where'd all our money go? And she'd get defensive, and say, well, I pay this and this and this. I mean, I don't know why we don't have more money. Here, you keep it then. That's how I became the bookkeeper in our family. Okay, we had enough of those fights, and she finally said, I'm done with this. A SunTrust Bank survey said that 35% of all respondents to the survey experienced relationship stress. And they the ones who said they experienced relationship stress, 35% of them said it was that money was the primary cause. 35% of marital stress in that survey was money related. A 2013 survey by the Institute for Divorce Financial Analysis, I didn't know there was such a thing. The Institute for Divorce Financial Analysis said, quote, financial issues are also responsible for 22% of all divorces. That makes it the 3rd leading cause of divorce. So one of the reasons to get out of debt is to reduce stress in your home. Number 2 is to gain financial freedom. Credit is sold, the idea of credit is sold on our culture as a means to financial freedom. When you have a high credit score, you can borrow money to get what you want, what you need, and that's freedom. Actually, if you've ever been in debt, if you've ever had a home loan or a car loan, you know that you are bound to that creditor, and you better make that payment every month, or bad things begin to happen. So contrary to what we would hear from marketers, from bankers and others, that credit frees us, actually credit enslaves us. It's a form of slavery. That's what the Bible says. Proverbs 22:7, we read this verse last week. The rich rules over the poor, and the borrower is the slave of the lender. So get out of debt to achieve financial freedom. Number 3, a third why is to prepare for financial storms. To prepare for financial storms, like job loss. How long could you go right now with no income? How long could your family survive? If you have 2 incomes, with one of them, the main income, how long could you survive? That's a question you need to ask. Illness. How long if you were out of a job for 6 months, or because of a car wreck, or because of COVID or whatever else, you were out for weeks or months. How long could you last? Catastrophic injury, disability, recessions. I spoke, I've talked with a lot of you over the phone. Someone on our staff has over the course of the last several months as we've gone through the pandemic. We didn't get to see each other for a long time. For 10 weeks, we were all virtual. Right after mid-March until the end of May, we were all virtual, so we didn't get to see each other unless we ran into each other with our mask on at Publix. So we call people, and I remember calling one of our small business owners. Actually, I think we texted. and asked about how things were going. And he says that, we're doing well, but our business is shut down. And I was surprised. I thought, wow, I thought you were in a business that, that wouldn't be shut down even in a pandemic. He said, no, we're shut down. And we're okay financially, our family is, but I'm concerned about the families of people who work for us. So we took seriously your challenge at the beginning of Debt Free in 3 to become debt-free personally. So we became debt-free personally some time ago and accumulated some cash. So we are paying the salaries of our employees while they can't work. That's powerful, guys. Because they were debt-free in 3. They prepared for a financial storm that helped their own family, and they in turn helped the families of others. That's a good why. And number 4 is kind of related to that, to give like never before. Acts 20:35 says, remember the words the Lord Jesus himself said, it is more blessed, that is more happy, more joyful to give than to receive. So when you're debt-free, you can help people in need like never before. You can support God's work like never before. I encourage you to make your own list of whys, but clarify the why before you begin this journey so that when it gets hard, you'll remember why you're doing this. That's super important. Number 2, if you want to get out of debt, you have to change your mind about debt. Change your mind about debt. You won't become debt-free until you change the way you think about debt. Romans 12:2 says this, do not be conformed to this world, which we've already said that the world we live in says that debt is just normal. It's just a part of life. It's just, you can't really have a car or a house without having a debt. Do not be conformed to this world, to that way of thinking, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, by renewing the way you think. Have you ever listened to the Dave Ramsey show on the radio? You know how he starts it, right? Debt is dumb, cash is king, and the paid-off home mortgage has taken the place of the BMW as the status symbol of choice. That's a mindset change. Debt is dumb, cash is king. And the paid-off home mortgage has taken the place of the BMW as the status symbol of choice. That's what I'm talking about when I said you got to change the way you think about debt so that being in debt is not what I want. I want to be financially free. A third thing to help you become debt-free this year or in the coming years is to convert to cash-only spending. Now, this is a behavior change. This is the habit change, a financial habit. Convert to cash-only spending. I'm not talking about having cash that you peel out and count off dollar bills or $100 bills or whatever, but having the money on hand before you spend it. So stop creating debt. In order to get out of debt, you have to stop creating debt. Stop borrowing. Stop getting a car loan when you get a car. Stop using a credit card for purchases knowing there's going to be a few months before you pay off Christmas. You've got to stop creating debt if you want to get out of debt. So go to cash-only spending. That may mean you have to perform plastic surgery. Okay? Get out your scissors and perform a little plastic surgery. 43% of Americans carry rollover credit on their credit card every month. 43% roll over and have, that is, they don't pay it off every month. They have money that they carry over on their card and pay interest on it. The average balance in 2019 was $61.94. 15% of families spend more than they make each month. 43% of them use credit cards to finance that shortfall. Use a credit card only. If you're going to keep credit cards, use a credit card only when you have enough cash to pay for what you're using it for. Like if you're using it online to purchase a TV for, let's say, $800, don't use it unless you already have the $800 in the bank. So, if you use a credit card, make sure that you use it in a way that doesn't put you in debt. It just allows you to use it conveniently, but you don't use convenience as an excuse for debt. That will never get you out of debt. That will never lead you to financial freedom. Number 4, cultivate contentment. Cultivate contentment. This is a mindset shift, like the shift that I'm in bondage when I'm in debt. So this is a mindset shift. There's a practical and a spiritual side to contentment. The practical side is contentment saves me money. Many of you know that I drove a white Chevy Ford pickup for a long, long time. In fact, when I quit driving that truck here, people didn't know if I was at the office. They didn't see the white truck. Matt must not be here. So I drove it for 19 years. I put over 245,000 miles on that truck. And the reason I drove it for so long was I didn't have cash to buy another one. We were putting kids through college and, raising 4 kids, it's expensive. So I like my truck. I decided I'm going to like what I have instead of liking what somebody else has or what a dealer has. I'm going to like what I have. So I cultivated contentment by not window shopping. I didn't surf on the internet for car deals, or I didn't go walk through dealer showrooms and look at the latest trucks. I would admire other people's trucks to make them feel good about, to make them enjoy theirs. And if they had a new truck, great. I didn't want it. Because if I window shop, I'm going to be unhappy with what I have, and I'm going to mope around, and I'm probably going to end up buying something on credit that I shouldn't have bought if I want to stay out of debt. Now, Terry is not nearly as susceptible to greed as I am. Okay? I am addicted to that thing. So it is an evil in me that I have to suppress. I have to change my habits, my shopping habits, in order to suppress the greed. Now, she doesn't have that problem that I have. So she could watch HGTV. She could watch Chip and Joanna Gaines and their show and look at their home and, I like this Magnolia style, and she would think about what she wanted to do with our house and how we would remodel it. I couldn't watch those shows with her. Of course, I took care for it, but it wasn't, it was terrible that I hated it. It's just that I didn't want to watch that because I'm going to be disgusted with the house we have. They're so little and dinky and old. I knew I would hate it. Now, once we'd saved up enough money to remodel our house, I started watching Chip and Joanna. They got a pretty good show. They had some great ideas. And when we remodeled our house, we incorporated some of those things into our house. But it sure was good to write a check each time for the supplies and for the labor. And it was done. Our house was still debt-free. So it saves you money to be content with what you have. There's also a spiritual side. Contentment expresses and grows your faith. It does. When you practice contentment, what you're saying is that, God, I am happy with what you've allowed me to have. And I trust you to meet my needs. Hebrews 13:5. Read this with me. Keep your life free from the love of money and be content with what you have, for he has said, I will never leave you nor forsake you. You see the connection there between commitment and trusting God, that he won't leave you or forsake you. The direct connection between contentment and faith. And then this passage in Philippians. Not that I'm speaking of being in need, for I have learned, circle the word learned. I've learned in whatever situation I am to be content. Contentment is not a natural thing. You don't inherit it. You learn it, or you don't learn it. So what he's saying here, Paul is saying, look, I learned it. I didn't have it to start with, but I learned contentment. So I can be, whatever is happening in my life, I can be content. Now, how could he be content no matter what's happening? This is important. Verse 12, I know how to be brought low. I know how to abound. In any and every circumstance, I've learned the secret of facing plenty and hunger, abundance and need. So tell us, Paul, what is the secret? I can do all things through him, i.e. Christ, who strengthens me. My trust is in Jesus. That's how I can be content. If things are bad, I know God is with me. If things are great, I know God has provided this for me. I'm okay because he will prepare me and strengthen me no matter what's happening. I'm okay with that. That's the connection between contentment and faith. And contentment is cultivated by expressing gratitude. So he was expressing this idea that, God, I'm okay no matter what's going on. I'm okay because I've got you and I know you've got me. So he was really expressing gratitude for that. I remember several Christmases ago, my cousin's little boy received a little tractor for Christmas. It was a little, John Deere tractor with a trailer and so forth. I forgot who gave it to him, but we opened it with the whole family there. So it was one of our other family members. Man, he did not like that. That's not what he wanted. He just pouted and man, just made a spectacle there. So embarrassing for his mom and dad. Man, they were just terribly embarrassed because he acted like a kid. That's not what he wanted. And when we act like that with what we have, we're basically saying the same thing to God. God, I don't like what I have. I don't like what you've given me. So we need to change our attitude and learn to be content with what God has blessed us with. So there's a spiritual side and there's a practical side. The practical side, it saves you money. The spiritual side, it expresses and grows your faith. Now, here's some practical things about getting out of debt. Keep good financial records. Keep good financial records. Proverbs 27:23-24. Read this with me. Know well the condition of your flocks and give attention to your herds, for riches do not last forever. Know how much you have, whether it's sheep or dollars or stocks, and give attention to that because it'll run out if you keep spending it. So you need to know how much you have. So first of all, know how much you owe. Do you know how much you owe? Do you know how much you owe? So let me ask you this way. If someone were to tell you today, look, I'll write you a check for everything you owe, and you can be debt-free today on one condition. You have to tell me within $100 what you owe. Don't raise your hand. But is there a single person in here who could tell this person exactly what you owe within $100 or even within $1,000? I'm talking about your house and everything. Student loans, house loans, car loans, everything. Credit cards. You see, if you want to get out of debt, you need to know what you owe. Okay, so you got a smartphone with you? I want you to get out your smartphone. It's the pastor telling you to get out. Okay. Click on that big F and go to Facebook. No, not Facebook. Okay. Find your calculator. Every smartphone has a calculator app. You can't buy one without one. Okay? You know your calculator app? All right, here's what I want you to do. I want you to add up what your loan payments are. If you need to ask your spouse or your boyfriend, girlfriend what they are, it's okay. There's no shame here, all right? We're trying to get out of debt. So I want you to add them up. So type it in. Car loans, student loans, not your principal, but what you owe, your monthly payment. Your credit cards, your mortgage, anything else? If you're looking up here, I assume you've already done it, right? Okay, so add that up. Look at that total. What would your life be like? Dream with me now. What would your life be like if you had that money still in your bank account every month? That much more every month, every month, every month. Can you feel the excitement of that? Can you feel the freedom? That you don't have to make that payment and you can still live in your house. In fact, what you were spending on your house, you can spend on something else, or you can save it, or you can give it to somebody. And your cars and all that. For most of you, it's a pretty hefty sum every month. Imagine your life without having to write those checks or those ACH payments from your bill pay. It can change your life. So know what you owe. Track every dollar is number 2. Track every dollar. If you're going to have a good financial records, you need to know what you owe. You also need to track every dollar. Put them in categories. Food, housing, and so forth. There's some great tools to do this. You can find these tools, apps on the internet. Every Dollar from Dave Ramsey, Quicken. You can use Excel, spreadsheets. There are many free budgeting programs, lots of them out there, and apps that you can use to track every dollar. Identify, and doing that will help you identify the money munchers, the things that are eating at your income that you don't realize are eating at your income. If you tracked your expenses, the first thing that if you go through Financial Peace University, Dave Ramsey's course, the first thing that he has you do is track your expenses for a month. First of all, has you write down a budget that you think would be a budget, and then he has you, gives you a dose of reality. Track your expenses for a month and put them in categories. You would be shocked at how much money you spend eating out and groceries and gifts and clothes and hobbies, hunting, fishing, golf, whatever. Put it in those categories and come to grips with how much money is going out those doors. Now you have to eat, okay, that's important. All right, you don't have to eat out, but you do have to eat. You don't have to eat steak. I like steak. Okay, if you're debt free, you can have more steak. But you need to identify these money munchers so you know your money's going. So you will not get out of debt, likely will not get out of debt without keeping good financial records. Know what you owe, track every dollar, identify the money munchers. So create a spending plan. Create a spending plan. The other word for that is what? Budget. Yep. A budget. The Bible tells us to create a budget. Do you know that? It's Proverbs 21:5. Read it with me. The plans of the diligent lead to profit as surely as haste leads to poverty. Plans, that's a budget, a spending plan. Haste, that's compulsive spending. So if you don't have a spending plan, you don't have much of a buffer against compulsive spending. So plans of the diligent lead to profit. The connection between planning and profit is unmistakable in that verse. Good planning leads to profit. Haste does not lead to profit. Financial freedom will never happen without a good financial plan. Now here's one I want to suggest to you. I think I can make a strong biblical case for this, but I'm just going to touch on a few things in doing so. It's what many people have called the 10-10-80 plan. Maybe you've heard this before, the 10-10-80 plan. 10% planned giving. 10% planned giving. This is basically pay God first. Because everything we have because God has given us the talents, the opportunities, the experiences so that we can have that. So planned giving. Proverbs 3:9-10 says, honor the Lord from your wealth and from the last of all your produce. Is that what it says? The first. What I discovered was if I don't pay God first, sometimes he doesn't get paid at all. He can come take the rest, and sometimes he would do that, if we don't. But that's not his desire. He wants us to honor him. Honor the Lord from your wealth and from the first of all your produce, your income. Produce is your income, what you grow every year. So your barns will be filled with plenty and your vats will overflow with new wine. 10% planned giving. Pay God first. Second, planned spending. Pay yourself second. Planned saving, rather. Planned saving. Pay yourself second. Planned giving. Pay God first. Pay yourself second. That's planned saving. Proverbs 13:11. Dishonest money dwindles away, but whoever gathers money little by little, that's saving, makes it grow. Planned saving. An emergency fund for unexpected expenses. This was very helpful for us not too long ago when Hurricane Michael came through, dropped a tree on our house, and scraped up the roof. So we needed to replace the roof. Well, we had insurance. There's a hurricane deductible. Now, I knew about the hurricane deductible. It wasn't personal to me. until we had a hurricane that did a lot of damage on our house. It's a lot of money. It was almost $5,000. So we just wrote the check when the new roof was put on. So it's important. Recently, we had our driveway. It was the original driveway that came with the house, and it's been broken up on the edges a little bit by, large equipment that would come in to remove trees. We had a couple cranes in there for the hurricane, and then subsequent tree removal. So it had break it on the end, but then all of a sudden this big thing just humped up right in the middle of the driveway. I mean, it's like this tall. It's like a foot tall. And I thought, what in the world is doing? It's got to be a root. And we were tripping over it, and so I was afraid that Terry's aunt Joyce would trip and fall and break something, and I said, we've got to get this fixed. So we brought some people in to quote us, and said, oh yeah, that's a root. Oh, another person said, oh, that's a root. Another person said, oh, that's a root. Okay, it's a root. All right, I get it. So, but I just got to get that out of there. So we replaced the whole driveway. It was so cool to be able to write a check. The reason we could write a check is because we'd save for that. We'd save for future expenses. Now that wasn't an emergency, because driveways don't last forever. Right? It's not like, wow, I thought this driveway was supposed to last forever. It's an emergency. There's a root that's come up. No, that was not an emergency. It just wore out. Right? It just wore out. So it changed the way we looked at our finances when we decided, look, if we're going to get out of debt and stay out of debt, we've got to save for future purchases. Save for the next vehicle. Save for the next roof. Roofs don't last forever. That's not the first roof we put on our house. It was expensive too, like $12,000. So when you save for expenses that are coming, it may be years in advance. The longer you start in advance, then the easier it is to absorb that when it happens. A college fund for your kids, or an emergency fund, a savings fund, a sinking fund for future purchases, or savings fund, whatever you want to call that. A college fund for yourself or kids, or retirement fund. They're funds we pay into. But if we don't plan that, they look like emergencies when they happen. They're not emergencies when they happen. They're just stupid that we didn't plan for it. Right? We can call them emergencies, but they're just poor foresight, poor planning on our part. Let's own it. Let's don't blame anybody. Let's own it. That way, when we own it, we can fix it. And then finally, 80% planned spending. So 10% planned giving, 10% planned saving, 80% planned spending. Live off of what's left. Live off of what's left. You can decide ahead of time that you're going to set aside something for giving and saving, and then you just live off of what's left. It may take a little while to adjust to that, but if that's not your goal, you'll never adjust to that. That was so helpful for us years ago when we decided we're going to tithe. I think it was the second year we've been married. We decided, we're going to start tithing. And so we decided to start living off of 90%. And from then on, we just lived off of 90%. It was not a problem. That money went to God. The 10% went to God, and God He's blessed us tremendously. So, and I don't just mean the blessing in terms of finances. He's blessed us. He's enriched our family, and that was something that was important for us. The wise store up choice food and olive oil, but fools gulp theirs down. Plan spending, store it up, and so have a plan. Work the plan. Track and adjust your spending and your plan over time. Then finally, number 7, chop down your debt with gazelle intensity. Chop down your debt with gazelle intensity. You ever seen a TV show with a cheetah chasing a gazelle? That's entertaining. Man, that cheetah knows if she doesn't go or he doesn't go, he is dinner. So there's intensity in that chase and in that fleeing from the predator. Now, all of you that have been to Financial Peace University, you think Dave Ramsey made that up. He did not come up with that idea. God did. Here's where it is. Proverbs 6. My son, if you have put up security for your neighbor and have given yourself as a pledge for your stranger, that is, you've borrowed money from your neighbor and you've given him some security, give your eyes no sleep and your eyelids no slumber. Say it with me. Save yourself like a gazelle from the hand of the hunter, like a bird from the hand of the fowler. You got to want to get out of debt. It's going to take a lot of effort, just like that gazelle wants to not be eaten. You got to want that financial freedom. You got to want what that will do. Use the debt snowball. That's something that Dave Ramsey talks about. That's really good. It was pay off your smallest debt first. That will give you some encouragement. Then whatever you were paying on that debt, apply that to the next smallest debt, that same monthly payment. Then you'll pay that one off quicker, and it'll begin to build as you go through there. And also, one thing that helped us tremendously with getting our house paid off was apply unexpected income to your debt. When you come into unexpected income, and that happens, take it. If you're trying to get out of debt, put it on the debt. Don't say, what are we going to do with this? We didn't say, what are we going to do with this money? We just put it on the debt. And that's how we paid off our house. So if you want to get out of debt, you can get out of debt. God will bless that. Debt is not immoral or moral. It's amoral. It's neither one. It's neither good nor bad in terms of morality. But it also is a form of slavery. So I think God would encourage us to get out of debt. If you need to borrow money to buy a house, I get that. That's a huge payment. Just don't borrow it and expect to take 30 years to pay it off. You don't have to. You don't have to be in that situation. But you will never get out of debt until you decide, I don't want to live this way. I want to be free. Clarify your whys. Put those reasons down and then begin to attack that debt and see what God will do. I encourage you, if you've not done this before, or maybe you need a renewal, to be a part of Financial Peace University. During the pandemic, FPU has gone virtual, so it's never been easier to do financial peace than it is right now. And we're starting a class on January the 24th at 4 o'clock. And you can sign up at this link. It's in your notes there. You can write it down up here, leave it up here so you can write it down. You can sign up at that link. You can go to our website and sign up. You can sign up on our app. You can sign up in the newsletter. If you get the newsletter, there's a link in the newsletter. If you want to get out of debt, this is a great tool. It's inspirational. It's helpful. It's very practical. He's funny. It's good. I highly recommend Financial Peace University. I don't think that Terry and I would be out of debt, at least as early as we were, had it not been for Financial Peace University. And it's life-changing for us. So I want you to experience what we've experienced. It's been fantastic. So encourage you to do this. Steve Cutright is here. Steve, Steve Cutright will be leading that. He is actually a certified coach with Financial Peace University with Dave Ramsey. He's been through the training in Nashville and is an accountant by trade. He's a fantastic teacher. Will do a great job. So he'll be leading that virtually. Encourage you to sign up for that and be a part of it. Debt-free for me. Say that out loud. Debt-free for me. Can you own that? Can you get a picture of that in your life? That could be you. Only if you decide that's what we're going to do. Get a vision for it and go after it. I think you'll be blessed. And God will use you. There's a potential to use you in huge ways to bless other people because you're debt-free. Let's pray. Father, thank you for challenging us as a church to become debt-free. And we look forward to the potential that has for our church to bless others, to make a difference in the lives of people around us. Lord, we are so excited about that. And God, I just ask you to encourage the folks who are here and the folks who are listening to embrace the idea of being debt-free themselves. Debt-free for me. What a great vision. I pray that people will adopt that. They'll push back against the expectation that everybody has to be in debt. They'll be more concerned about their cash score than their credit score. Lord, that's what you want us to do, I believe, is to free ourselves from things that entangle us. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Hey, well, we hope this message encouraged you, and if you would like to know more, we want to make the message notes and the show notes available to you. And so if you just scroll down into the description, you'll see a link there where you can download the notes and keep them for yourself and for future reference. And I also would like to invite you to partner with us in our mission, which is to honor God by helping unchurched people become fully devoted followers of Christ. If you would like to give to that mission and become a partner with us, you can go directly to our website at canopyroads.org/giving, or again, scroll down in the description and there will be a link for you to click on. It would be our honor to partner with you in extending the ministry and the gospel to the ends of the earth. If you found this video valuable, be sure to click that like button, subscribe if you have not done so already, and we will see you back here next week.